What do a royal outsider, a billionaire heiress, and a fashion icon all have in common? A feud that's way deeper than designer dresses. Let's get into it, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. Today, I want to go through this article titled Victoria Beckham Facing War with Nicola Peltz and Duchess of Drama, Meghan Markle as Brooklyn feud goes nuclear. I absolutely love that they called her Duchess of Drama. It's usually Duchess of Delulu. But here we go. Let's get into it. The article begins Victoria Beckham has told friends, I'm not going to back down after being left blindsided by the budding friendship between Nicola Peltz and Meghan Markle. Radar Online can reveal. So already this tells you that Victoria Beckham and probably many of us never saw that there would be any connection between Meghan and Nicola. It's kind of out of left field. The article continues the 51-year-old fashion designer is said to be deeply hurt by the growing closeness between her daughter in law and the Duchess of Sussex. It's the latest twist in the sensational rift between the Beckham family and Brooklyn Beckham. The article continues and says the dramatic new turn has seen Peltz's alliance with Markle grow after the pair hit it off at a private dinner in Montecito. They have since formed what insiders describe as a tight bond over shared frustrations with Victoria. A source close to the situation said the pair have teamed up over feeling snubbed or ignored by Victoria. So you see that these two people are joined together in a mutual dislike, you could say, of one person. This sounds exactly like the kind of us versus them dynamic that narcissists often create to isolate and control. It's a classic manipulation tactic, positioning themselves and their chosen ally as misunderstood or victimized while casting others as the problem. According to insiders, Meghan and Nicola have teamed up over shared frustrations with Victoria Beckham, echoing the pattern we've seen before with Harry and Meghan. This is a textbook example of how narcissists create division to gain loyalty and control. By framing relationships in terms of allies and enemies, they foster emotional dependency and make the chosen person feel special, like they're the only one who truly understands. When someone repeatedly highlights shared grievances with a third party, it isn't just bonding, it's strategic. This pattern played out with Meghan and Harry, in my opinion, where their grievances became glue. And we're seeing now that this is the same type of glue that's holding Meghan and Nicola together. Now, I don't know much about Nicola, but because, in my opinion, I've already seen this behavior in Meghan, I could totally see her being the one behind this. The article continues. One insider said Meghan has become a real support for Nicola. They've been in frequent contact, and naturally, Victoria is part of the conversation. Meghan believes the Beckhams have treated her unfairly, and Nicola understands that. She's felt like she's had to fight for recognition from the beginning. According to Tom Bauer's House of Beckham, Meghan's relationship with Victoria began with initial warmth but quickly turned tense. Early in her time with Harry, Victoria reportedly sent her gifts totaling over £6,000, including a coat, dress, boots, handbag, and even a custom maternity outfit. Meghan also allegedly requested more items, but palace officials later stepped in and declined to accept further gifts. As the relationship evolved, Meghan is said to have viewed herself as socially superior to Victoria due to her royal title, yet she was privately irritated to discover the Beckhams' greater wealth and lifestyle. This imbalance reportedly created a quiet rivalry that grew over time. The situation worsened when a beauty tip shared by Victoria allegedly appeared in a tabloid. Meghan and Harry suspected the Beckhams of leaking it, and without verifying the source, Harry reportedly called David Beckham to confront him. The leak was later traced back to a salon employee, But the accusation deeply offended David and created a lasting rift. In October 2018, tensions went public at the Invictus Games in Sydney. Meghan allegedly instructed aides to keep Harry from being photographed with David Beckham, and officials went as far as barring Beckham from photo ops entirely, a move that reportedly left him confused and hurt. Despite having attended Meghan and Harry's wedding just a little bit earlier that year, the Beckhams were excluded from the private reception, which many interpreted as a deliberate slight. Ultimately, when you look at this, you can summarize it as envy. Meghan is envious of Victoria Beckham. She thought that by having a royal title, she would be higher on the social and wealth ladder, and that just wasn't the case. Now, if we go back to what this insider said, what's being described here reflects a classic trauma bond narrative where one person offers emotional validation to another based on shared feelings of being misunderstood or unappreciated. But the context matters. Meghan's history with the Beckhams is marked by suspicion, control, and boundary pushing. So when she becomes, in quotation marks, real support to someone who might already feel sidelined within the same family Meghan once alienated, it looks less like genuine connection and more like triangulation, a psychological tactic where a third person is pulled in to solidify an alliance against a common target. In this case, Meghan aligning with Nicola and reinforcing the idea that both of them were treated unfairly by Victoria is not just about bonding. It's about rewriting the past, gaining influence, and reasserting control over a narrative that's long been slipping away. I've also mentioned many times that I believe Meghan is a malignant narcissist. She wants to cause pain. When you view this through the lens of malignant narcissism, Meghan's behavior takes on a more calculated tone. Malignant narcissists don't just want admiration, they want control, dominance, and often to inflict pain on those they envy. In my opinion, Meghan carries resentment toward Victoria Beckham, not just for her status, but for something even more triggering to a narcissist: effortless social power, generational wealth, and respect without theatrics. Now, years after the fallout with Victoria, the accusations, the gifts never returned, the photo snub at Invictus, Meghan positions herself as a source of support for Nicola. But this doesn't look like healing, it looks like strategy. Aligning with Nicola allows Meghan to wedge herself into Victoria's inner circle in a way that feels more like revenge than reconciliation. This is how malignant narcissists operate. They find people with unresolved wounds, echo those feelings to gain loyalty, then use that alliance to isolate or punish the person they secretly envy. It's not about connection, it's about domination by proxy. And if Victoria feels blindsided and hurt by this sudden alliance, that is not an unfortunate byproduct. That is completely the point. And this is where we need to talk about triangulation, one of the most common manipulation tactics used by narcissists. It's when someone pulls a third party into a conflict or dynamic, not to resolve it, but to reinforce their side and isolate the other person. It's about control through division. In this case, by aligning with Nicola, someone who already feels overlooked, Meghan isn't just making a new friend, she's forming an emotional alliance that subtly casts Victoria as the problem without ever having to say it directly. That's the brilliance and the cruelty of triangulation. The target, who in this case is Victoria, gets pushed to the outside while the narcissist strengthens their grip on the person that they've rescued. I want to close out this video by giving you some tips on how to spot triangulation and how to counteract it. Here are 5 ways to spot triangulation. The first is you're pulled into someone else's conflict. If someone vents to you about another person but avoids talking to them directly, you're not just a friend, you've been drafted into the triangle. The second is you're asked to take sides even subtly. It might not even be dramatic. It could sound like, "You see it too, right?" That's a nudge toward choosing alliance over objectivity. Third, you're praised for agreeing and punished for neutrality. You get attention and closeness when you validate their story, but go quiet or get guilt tripped when you stay neutral or challenge them. Fourth, The original person being talked about is kept out of the loop. Triangulation thrives in silence. If someone refuses to address things directly and prefers back channel alliances, that's a red flag. And finally, you notice someone always has a bad guy in their narrative. There's always someone being cast as the problem, and you're being invited to see them in that way too. And here are some tips to counteract it. The first is don't take the bait. Redirect the conversation. Say something like, "Have you talked to them about it?" That shuts down the triangle before it forms. The second is stay neutral even if it feels uncomfortable. You don't owe emotional loyalty to someone's version of events, especially when you're not hearing both sides. Third, avoid gossip disguised as venting. If it sounds like therapy but feels like shade, it probably is. Don't let someone weaponize your empathy. Fourth, notice how your relationships shift. If getting close to one person suddenly means you're drifting away from another, ask yourself why. That's not closeness, that's control. And finally, set the tone. You can say to them, "I care about you, but I won't get involved." You can be supportive without becoming part of a triangle. That one sentence can protect your peace and your integrity. I'm curious to know what you feel about this, so please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to reach out to them, and you'll find a link to donate in the description. If this video was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.